Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 300 at scavengerlife.com.
So we have a lot to talk about today, and I don't have any really big thoughts to talk about, just very important little details.
Yes.
So number one, welcome to Trash Elf Radio. This is episode number 300.
Yes.
Wow, big deal.
Yeah,
Cool.
300 is a lot of episodes.
Yeah, we started this podcast in 2013.
I can't remember,
Something
honestly.
like that, yeah. I think about 2013. And we've been doing it pretty much every single week. I think we've only missed a couple of weeks throughout the last 4 or 5
Even when we're traveling.
years. Yeah, we kind of integrate this into our life and it works. And, the purpose of this is mainly just to kind of share our experience selling online.
Document ourselves.
Like I always say, if you've chosen to sell on eBay as your job, you found your people.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about today. Taxes, Canada,
Okay.
and the new seller update.
Okay.
So it's like a game show. Which would you like to talk about first?
Let's talk about taxes.
Okay, so hopefully many of you are doing your taxes. Time is running short.
Yes.
Taxes will be due April 15th, so that's a little over a month from now.
Yes.
So, a couple weeks ago we took our taxes to our accountant. He says, okay, I'll get back to you. And yesterday he got back to us.
Yeah.
And we owe a lot of taxes this year.
Now, we paid quarterly for 3 quarters,
Right.
so we had hoped that would have carved out a chunk.
Right. And it did.
It did.
We didn't pay the last quarterly payment.
Right.
The self-employment taxes, just because we needed that money. We're trying to finish a house, a renovation. And so we made that choice. Because you actually don't have to pay the quarterly payments. There's a small penalty.
Yeah.
But it's more just for our benefit.
So we don't have to pay it all at once.
I mean, so here's the problem we had, is that we just made a lot of money this year.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Right, sure.
And we didn't have enough expenses to offset that, and so we just owe a lot of money.
Right.
And so basically, the month of March, all of our profits go to taxes.
Right.
And
we paused the renovation for that very reason.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so
we just are like, we gotta pay our taxes.
And it's not great, but I guess I don't know about it's you, but me, taxes, they got to get paid.
Yeah, sure.
There was one time in this country, I think, when people pay taxes in a patriotic way because you're paying it into the country, and now people are like, no one wants to pay taxes, but when I do pay our taxes, I think, okay, it's going to go to the roads and the libraries and the schools, and I have to imagine it's going to good things. I don't think about any of the bad things.
Yeah.
She's not saying anything.
I just no comment at this point.
And so I think this is interesting. There are two kinds of people hearing us right now. There's the people who are like us, who sell full time,
right,
and probably, hopefully, know what it's like to be self-employed, because you have to pay all the taxes. You know? And if you aren't prepaying those taxes, then you get this huge tax bill.
Right.
And then there are people who have actual jobs. They're W-2 employees, and those taxes get taken out. I think when we moved from being W-2 employees to just being our own bosses, it was a big deal, because you get used to just taxes being taken out automatically. Right,
you don't see that money.
And don't even think about
Sometimes
it.
Sometimes you get a refund at the end of the year. Oh, you overpaid or whatever. And you're like, great, I got a check for $500.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
I mean, I have heard a lot of stories, because it happened to us when, the first year someone went independent. Yeah. And then the tax season came, and they just had no idea how much taxes they owed, because, there's federal taxes, there's state taxes, there's you got to pay into Social Security and Medicare, you know? I mean,
those are the big ones.
Right. And, it's a lot.
It's a lot of money, you know. Or if you make money, if you make a profit, it's a chunk.
And thank God for us that we have an accountant that we deal with, because he really helped us out.
Yeah, he helped us.
Taking the right deductions and helping us kind of think about next year how to like organize things.
Looking through our numbers, making sure he understood what all the deductions were.
Yeah. So, but like our accountant said, he's kind of, it's like a grandpa kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I kind of feel about him. You know, he was like, just think about it this way, and you guys owe a lot of taxes because we made a lot of money.
Right, and that's not a bad thing.
And it was a great thing.
Yeah,
and so I hope,
it's hard to complain.
I hope the same thing happens as last year. And the reason why we're kind of short on cash is because we've poured all of our income into redoing this other rental. Right. So we can get it on the market so we can start to make us money. Yeah. Which is a smart thing if you're running your own business, is to invest in your business.
Yes. Just the hard thing about that is that you can't take straight deductions for that kind of improvements on a house. So you could spend so much money. We spent a lot of money on that house. We're still spending money. But you can't just be like, I spent this money, I'm going to take a loss. It's like, it's over whatever he said, 27 years. Right. So it's tough sometimes. You're like, well, we have to pay taxes on all that money we spent, basically. So that's tough.
Yeah. But that's what it is. It's what it is.
How
so
it is.
We would love to hear, come on the it's forums, and I'll start a thing about taxes, and if people want to cry about taxes, we can do that. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about was Canada.
Yes. We have some Canadian sellers on the forum that are active.
And there was a good kind of it's forum conversation about people in Canada talking about how they deal with postage and all that.
Postage is a big thing.
And this is important to me, so I hope it's more people come on. We have a friend who lives in LA. Yeah. And his wife is actually Canadian. She's Canadian American, but and they're actually moving back to Canada. Yeah. It's Vancouver, actually.
So they're going to live in Vancouver, like the city proper.
Like a suburb probably. Yeah. Like they're going to try and buy a house, a small house.
Nice.
So he sells on eBay. He's not a big eBay guy,
Would you call him part-time?
Yeah, I mean,
hobby?
Yeah, he's a stay-at-home dad, so he's like the dad that takes care of the kid while the mom works. Right. And then he sells on eBay. So it's his business, but he's definitely kind of part-time. Okay. And he's more about buying like very specific things and selling for a lot, Okay. So he's like the small store. Yes. So he was asking me questions, or just talking about things that he's confused about, is when he moved to Canada, is like how he does the post office. Right. Taxes, That's interesting. I mean, I was thinking, since I'm assuming a lot of people in Canada sell mainly to Americans. Yeah. I wonder if you lived like kind of on the border, could
you get a P.O. box over there or something?
Or could you ship maybe once a week? And just drive over the border, like drive the hour from Vancouver.
That's what some Canadian sellers have said, that they either use a U.S. shipper, and I don't know if that means they send it to the U.S. shipper or they drive it over there, or if you could just go over the border, get either a P.O. box or a mailbox, etc. type P.O. box, and use that as your return address and print U.S. labels and just drive over. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, how far is Vancouver from the...
It's not very far. I mean, I think if you did it once a week or twice a week, I think it would be all right. But anyway, his worry was like, with these days with the American border, it's going to be so chaotic and they're going to think I'm doing something wrong. And I'm just like, I mean, he's an American. I think it should be all right. So anyway, if you're a Canadian or have experience as, a seller there, we would love to hear some info about that, about how you handle, competing with other Americans who sell if your shipping is more expensive. Because I think that's his big... the thing he's worried about, that it'll cost more for people to buy his stuff. Right. He's also worried about, are Canadians as wasteful as Americans? Like, will there be as much stuff to find? Yeah. I've always pointed him to, it's Martin in Montreal with at garbagefinds.com, where he makes a living purely by going through the garbage and on the streets of Montreal, and he finds
some just.
It looks like Canadians are just as wasteful. They're throwing away all this awesome stuff. I mean, he'll find like gold jewelry and like computers that he resells. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay, that was my Canadian thing. Okay, the third one, and it's a big one, is the spring seller update from eBay.
Yeah.
And we're having good long conversations on the forum about this, and I'm glad people brought it up because I would have it would not have paid attention to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad about the seller updates. I'm like, oh, okay.
So anyone new or doesn't really know about this is how eBay works. They have an update in the fall and in the spring.
Right, twice a year.
So every 6 months.
Yeah.
Basically, this is eBay's way of tweaking the platform.
Right.
You know, they're like, they're trying to look at the way a landscape is, and they're trying to change some things to make the experience better. That's the idea.
Yeah,
right. You know. So this update will start on May 17th. So in a couple months.
2 months.
Yeah. So here's the good stuff, or the stuff that they say is good. So promoted listings are going to become a thing. Like, it won't just be for it's multiple items. It'll be for anything.
You can promote anything. Like, you could promote one shirt if you want.
And they're going to give a $30 it's credit every quarter. For
everyone or just Anchor stores?
I think everyone.
Oh, really?
Or maybe it's just for store subscriptions. I don't know, but it's what they said. And I guess the thing is, it doesn't cost anything to put your items into
promoted.
But if it sells,
that's when you pay the fee.
They take whatever,
which is great, because a lot of times on other sites, like I think on Amazon, I'm sure I'll get like 5 emails about this, but you promote it, but you pay, and on Facebook, if you do Facebook ads or whatever, you know, you pay for the promotion no matter what. Right. Like, it doesn't matter if it sells or not.
It's more of an advertising.
It's an ad, yeah.
This is only like pay per click or whatever. So let me ask you, so we have put some of our items on our main store.
Yeah.
A lot of them. How many?
I don't know.
1,000?
See, we have 5,000 items. Yeah, I would say there's almost 1,000 promoted listings. Right. And I did it last week. I think I did it last Friday, so it's been like a week. And you know what? I don't know if it's like not fully in effect yet, but the only things I've sold that were promoted were of multiple quantities. Oh, yeah. Like we have these camelbacks that we got at a military liquidation. Right. And they've been selling like crazy, which is great because I really want to get rid of them.
So where does it tell you that it got sold through a promoted listing?
This is what's weird. On your promoted listing dashboard, it gives you like the dates, and it'll be like, okay, 2 days ago, 3 promoted listings sold, but it doesn't tell you which ones they were. You're like, what was it?
Right. It should be like when an item sells, there's some thing on like the sold page that says.
I mean, they really need to improve that. Like, you can see, so I'll have like lamps promoted listings, camelbacks, and you can see that, let's say, for example, a lamp sold through promoted, and you're like, which one? Right. I sold 3 last week, you know? So that's what's kind of weird about it. I don't understand why they don't give you a drop-down menu and show you the item.
And it's never been a really big part of eBay, especially for people it's like us that are selling one-of-a-kind weird items, because we haven't ever been able to do those because
we rarely have multiple quantities.
So the second good thing, I guess, is eBay is taking away those third-party ads on item pages. People have complained about this forever. I think it's so weird that they've done it.
It's basically like Google ads
or
something.
You know, your item's here, and then they have all this space where they have like Google ads of like from different websites, like at Wayfair, and you know.
Yeah, you're like, why are you advertising other websites on your web? Like, I'm here to shop on eBay. Why put me somewhere else? Well, to get paid. You know, eBay gets paid for that. But yeah.
So it's good they're taking that away, but we'll talk about that in a bit because it might be not a good thing. And then the third good thing that seems okay is there's ability to better at your handling time?
Yeah, like
I didn't quite understand that since I don't ship. But
I honestly did not drill down and look at that. Although it looks like you can be like, my handling time cutoff is
like at 12 o'clock every day,
right? Because my post office person comes, after that. So you can have a cutoff time for either same day shipping or 1 day shipping, something like that.
Yeah. I wonder too, because I didn't quite understand it, if you can say, well, I'm Eastern Standard Time, so the 24 hours starts at my time,
right? And that is helpful because this happens to sellers. Like, for example, I'll sell something, it's like 1 a.m. our time. So
Eastern
for me, that's like Monday morning.
Right.
So in theory, that should give me until Tuesday night to ship and do a label. But it's Pacific time. So they're like, oh no, you only have till Monday night. And you're like, that's not fair. Right. I'm on the East Coast. Like, I was asleep when this sold.
I wonder if this will solve that problem.
I think it will, because it has been an issue. Like, I'll wake up to sales and I'll be like, I have to ship this thing, tonight.
So let's talk about the stuff that I don't want to say it's bad, but the stuff that isn't great. Okay. Yeah. So number one is they're changing the discount that they give
top-rated sellers.
To TRS. Yeah. So normally, if you will sell by their standards,
right,
then they give you a 20% discount on final value fees,
which is super helpful. It's like several $100s a month.
It's for us. It's about $200 or $300 a month. So they're just cutting that in half. So it was 20%. Now it will be 10%.
And it's just cut right in half,
which isn't great. The other thing is value fees go up by 0.15%, basically across the board.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole lot. But it's 0.15%.
But it's more. It adds up.
Number 3, to get the top-rated seller status, you have to now have 95% of your items uploaded, the tracking
uploaded, and it used to be 90%.
So it means that really you kind of have to be almost perfect.
Yeah, you pretty much almost have to be perfect.
And, okay, we'll talk about that in a bit too. And then the other thing that I think is weird, going back to now they're going to let everyone put their items into its promoted listings. The issue is that it's going to be weird if our item page is being looked at by a buyer and then they're showing other people's sellers. Items right there.
But then you have to think your item is on someone else's page.
I know.
So you're like...
Yeah. So it's
it goes both ways, I guess. Right. But still, you're like, why are you... But they kind of do that anyway. Like, if I look at a page of, like, soap dishes,
right,
they'll show you other people looked at these other soap dishes. Right. It's kind of like Amazon. They do that now. Yeah. So it's like...
I don't know.
I just ignore it.
Same with me. I mean, their eBay pages are so busy.
They have so much stuff on them.
That's why I like other kinds of sites where they really kind of strip it down.
Yeah.
Where it's much more clear. I mean, it seems to still work. I mean, and people learn just to ignore that stuff. But
yeah,
it is weird. Here's the deal. People get very angry when these things happen. And we have lived through...
several seller updates.
A number of these, since 2008, twice a year, and some of them have been bigger. This one doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but really, it's kind of like what the deal is. You know? This is when I'm just kind of like, this is just a big corporation, and they're just making choices based on their stockholders.
Right.
And to me, it feels like they're like, how do we show that we're making income? And they're like, let's just raise fees just a little bit.
Just tweak it a little.
But, that 0.15% on final value fees extra, and then going from 20% to 10%
is
a discount across tens of thousands of people. I mean, it's probably millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
So then they can say at the end of the quarter, look, we're improving our money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the really a cynical way. I mean, I'll link to, they give an explanation of why they're doing this, and they're saying we need this extra income so we can invest in the platform.
Right.
And, okay. I mean, they didn't really say specifically how they're going to invest in the platform, but that's their reasoning. But it really does kind of feel more like an accounting trick, or
just tweaking the numbers. Well, if they got rid of third-party ads, then they have to make up for that revenue somehow. Because
how much money? I wonder how much money they actually made off this.
I would love to know.
Yeah. But, this is when I understand when sellers get angry. When, people are struggling, when their store is struggling, and then they just hit it with more fees. And I guess it's just like, it's just an equation that eBay has to do. Like, how much pain can they keep cranking up before people start really thinking about jumping to another platform, things, it's like this where I'm like, it's for us, we still make money on eBay.
Right.
We'll lose a couple $100 a month because of
the
things that they've done. So they'll get another couple $100 out of our income. But that's small in comparison to what we make.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it makes me think, maybe we should just look and see what it would be like to sell on Etsy. Like, have a second store. Like, maybe it'd be worth it. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing,
Well, the good thing is, and you've mentioned this before, is we do have a helper who actually has listed stuff on Etsy. So, that could be part of her job. Okay, list 20 things on Etsy today,
Right. And, at the end of the day, this is all just business,
Right. For them and for us.
eBay's there to make some cash. We're here to make some cash. And, they're making a choice to make more cash. And then it's make the choice. Like, is it worth it?
Do we stay?
No or yes? And if no, where do we go? And if yes, then we just take it out of our,
Exactly.
Out of our piggy bank. And I will say, I don't talk about Amazon as much anymore because that experiment, it's for us, isn't really happening.
Yeah.
But we still have items in there, is warehouses that we're trying to clear out. Someone, thank God, mentioned that Amazon has just raised their fees for books.
For media.
And I'd say over half of the items we still have in there are still books. And I had really brought the prices down to move them. I didn't go in and change. Well, I've now gone in and changed our prices to bring them up.
Yeah.
But there were about 5 or 6 books that got bought at their new fees. And we lost like $1 or $2 a book.
You're just like, what?
Oh my God. So, this isn't just eBay that makes changes and raises fees. Like, all these platforms are doing it,
Yep. And it happens incrementally, and it happens all the time. So.
Yep. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are really the things I want to talk about. And so we'd love, if you have opinions on this or ideas, we'd love to hear them over at the forum. This blog post will have some links to where we've been talking about it.
Yes. Okay, what's our scavenge of the week?
Scavenge of the week!
We did go scavenging a few times, actually.
We did.
Yeah. I would say, personally, that the scavenge of the week was a bunch of shoes that we found at a thrift store for cheap. Like, whatever, almost 20 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens when you're at a thrift store and somebody or a group of people have just donated some really awesome
nice shoes. A pair of Gucci shoes. I was like, hello.
And we just happened to be there at the right time. And there they are. And we just like pile them into.
Yeah.
And those days, I can remember in the early days of us scavenging when we would be mainly doing clothes.
Yeah.
And we would go up to the counter and we would have
shoes,
like a huge cartload of different sizes of shoes. I'd always be embarrassed because I'd be like, what do they think I'm doing? I do not care. It doesn't even matter.
Like, we were in Goodwill yesterday because we went to go to our favorite grocery outlet because we needed to stock up on food. And you were like just totally in the women's clothes aisle and the women's shoes aisle. Like, it just doesn't, it's just like, who cares? Like, I'm shopping. It doesn't matter why I'm shopping. I know there are other pickers there because I can tell. Because there are other guys looking at women's shoes. I'm like, okay, like, I can tell that there are other pickers, so who cares?
Yep. Of course.
Yeah. So that was my idea of the scavenge of the week.
Well, I found one particular pair of boots that I only knew about because of people talking about it on the its forum.
What are they called? Luchese?
Yeah.
They're cowboy boots.
Right. I'm sure we're not talking about it right. It's Luchese.
Yeah.
And people were like, these are really fancy. And so I look at them, and they look all right, but I see that name. I'm like, Let's
just get them.
I wanted $3 for them.
Yeah.
These are not like snakeskin or like
they're really... suede, right?
Yeah.
They're cool
nice.
looking.
$100.
I mean, they should sell for $100.
$100,
But it's just funny because sometimes you look at those and you're like, oh, these don't look like anything, and you're like, well, people look for that brand, so it's good to grab that stuff.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers.
Yes.
So we have consistently been having good weeks since Christmas.
Yes.
So we have not hit the slowdown yet. So in our main store, we sold 71 items.
What?
Again, we sold a lot of stuff.
Dude, I do not remember Well, there were a couple days where you asked me if shipping was annoying, and I said yes. And I think also me not realizing we sold 71 items was I'll pack in the morning, but I'll also pack in the afternoon too. Like once our helper leaves, I kind of like gather stuff that we have and I just start packing. So it's like packing twice a day kind of spreads it out.
I mean, we've been selling, about 10 items a day, which, I mean, again, in the summertime, or at least a year ago during the, at summertime, I mean, we'd be selling like 23 items in a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is over 3 times that. So we made about $2,100 in our main store.
That's great.
Which is great.
Okay, so some cool things that sold, which is, we kind of mentioned this, are those caches and pipelines of stuff that we talk about. So like those hydration packs, they're camelbacks from a military auction a long time ago, several years ago. But we sold off the good ones first. You sell off the like really clean ones that have all the parts and everything. And now I'm selling off just the packs that don't have the bladders mostly. And I'm selling them for cheap. Some of them sell for $5,
right.
$8.
Yeah, I mean, these are those like little backpacks that have like it's water in them, and people buy them.
But these don't have the bladders that hold the water, which is fine because you can buy those anyway. So if someone just wants the pack for $5, I've been selling those like crazy.
Right.
We've been selling nail polish; those are also on promoted.
Yeah, that's when we bought $600 worth of nail polish, like all these bottles of nail polish.
I don't think we paid that much. We paid $300.
Yeah, sorry,
but we got 600 bottles.
Right. Yeah, at $300 they were
like 30 cents each or something.
It's 50 cents.
50 cents each. Sorry.
So we've slowly been selling them, and we sell them. Every week we sell.
Sell a few every week.
Bottles, and we make $8-10.
And there have been times where I sell like a box of 10.
Right.
And that's helpful.
The other thing we've been doing is it's selling our vintage pens.
Pens and erasers. I sold some erasers.
Yep.
Some pencil leads.
It's great. I mean, like a box we'll sell for like $40, $30.
Yeah. Yeah. So those have been great sellers. We sold out of one. It was like a black pen refill for this like Pentel pen. I think we had like 12 of those. And they're gone. I mean, I finished selling those, so those were popular. Something else that's been selling that I'm super excited about are my buttons. Not just the fancy ones. Now, I sold some Burberry buttons, and I sold some Chanel buttons this week. But I also sold just brass, kind of vintage, with like a crest on them. So that's exciting. Like, my buttons have paid for themselves, more than paid for themselves. So
it's been great.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the stuff that's sold is just really just kind of random bread and butter stuff. Clothes, jackets, shoes, just a lot of like, thank God, like mugs and patches and
glassware. It's interesting because it's been really random. Like
exercise equipment.
Yeah, it's just like random stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love selling random stuff because I'm like, okay, so it's not just shoes and jackets and clothes that sell. It's other weird stuff that we find that sells.
Now, customer issues. We've had a couple of returns recently, but they've all been through hassle-free. It's returns, and they are just telling us that they
don't
just
fit.
Don't like it, and it's when you return it, and they pay for everything, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like that's
although there was someone who did not pay, who gave us an offer last weekend, and they never. So I opened an unpaid item case. I messaged them a few times. They never paid, and I had to relist it.
Yeah.
It was that hand, the little hand dish from Amsterdam that we love so much, and.
So sad. I was really hoping to get.
I know it was weird. It's weird when just nobody. Like a lot of times with unpaids too, people will be like, I'm so sorry, I was out of town or whatever, and this person just did not contact us. So
we have been having some conversations, and actually some people email us specific questions. I always tell people who email us specifically, I mean, we don't mind talking to people outside the its forum. But its questions are always better answered in public because, number one, we don't always have the right answer, so you can get more info from other people. And also, it's just the question that you have is probably a good one. It's going to help other people.
Right.
So
someone's going to have that same question. Yeah.
So here's one question I've been getting, and that is about its returns. People get very emotional about it. They get very worked up when someone wants to return an item, and they say it's their fault.
The seller's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
So hassle-free its returns, and you can do it to where if the buyer says that they've just changed their mind and they're willing to pay to ship it back,
you can automatically approve it.
You can automatically approve it, and that's what we do.
Yes, you say auto approve if someone says, I didn't like it, it didn't fit, or I think the other one's
or a wrong color.
Wrong color, or I found a better price.
Right.
Basically, the buyer's remorse, buyer's fault.
And that's what makes it hassle-free.
Yeah, you're just like, you don't have to talk to me. If you want to send it back, it's fine. Now, there's the other option of if they say it's our fault, they say it's damaged, item not described, etc., seller's fault, you can have that not on auto approve so that you can have a conversation and ask for photos.
Right. So that's when we have to approve that. And then here's what we do. We don't argue it's with anybody. All we say is, number one, very calmly, send us a photo.
If it's damaged.
Yeah. If they say there's a problem, show us what's wrong. So that's why it's number one is they're having to kind of jump through a hoop just in case.
Make them do some work.
Right. I mean, and to prove that they're, actually having a problem, and it's documented so eBay can. Yeah. They can check it out as well. So, oftentimes a buyer won't take a picture.
Right.
For whatever its reason, and then there's it's returned to be done.
Right, if they say it's damaged.
And then if they take a photo, sometimes there is a problem that is our fault. And we're like, okay, totally our fault.
We had a pair of hiking boot sneakers, and the lady was like, there's a huge hole on the inside of these. Not the inside, the outside. And that we just didn't see.
I missed. I didn't take a picture of it. I was like, no problem. Here's all of the cash. We just refunded her. Done.
Because... yeah.
Sometimes people take a picture and it doesn't really show anything. And so it's still just like, I don't know what the problem is, so we will accept its return.
Return it.
And here's the deal. We never, again, argue with its buyer. We then call eBay and figure out what our options are.
Yeah, what do we do next?
Oftentimes eBay will say, yeah, this is not a good return. This is a reason for it isn't good. Get it back.
And then call. Right. Yeah, it's not straightforward. It's really not straightforward. Now, the thing is, there's a beta program right now where some of us are in where you can, if someone says, item not described, and then they're not really telling you what the problem is. I had an issue with someone with a wallet, and I was like, it's totally as described. I disputed his return. I gave him a refund of the money for the wallet, but not all the shipping. And then he appealed it, and then I appealed it again. So, and I actually, in the end, was the one that was correct.
Right. But I guess is my point is, and my advice was to a person who was talking about having a problem. They seemed like they were having these really long conversations with the person that bought the item, which is never a good thing because, number one, eBay sees that you're arguing.
Right.
And number two, you're never going to change a buyer's mind who's upset.
Right.
So we just are professional and cool, and we say very small amounts of things to the person that bought the item, and then we talk to eBay. And then if eBay has our back, then we know we're safe. But if eBay says it's their opinion, you got to eat it, then you just eat it.
I've heard they've definitely said that to me before. Now, the other thing is, if someone's like, this is not as described, and you're like, fine, send it back. They have 5 business days to send it back. Now, I had an issue with this week where I called on the 5th business day. They wouldn't close it, but I called on the 6th business day, and they did close it. So it seems like it's basically 6 business days. On the 6th business day, you can be like, they never shipped
after
this guy.
5 on the 6th day is when it can happen.
So the buyer has 5 business days. Now, we had an issue with someone this week who was like wanting a partial refund for something because he thought it was...
Well, here's a longer story.
Okay, tell the longer story.
This guy says, I want this item.
Right.
I'll give you X amount.
Yeah.
A lower price. We're like, okay, here's an offer. We accepted his offer.
Yeah.
He paid it. He gets the item. He's like, wait a second. I paid too much for this item.
It's basically buyer's remorse.
So why don't you give me $8 back? And I just said, nope, we return it, done.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not happy, and you know, and that's my choice as...
Yeah. You don't have to give a partial refund
right.
at all.
I mean, eBay will always back you up if you say, send it back for a refund. And he's like, okay, give me $5 back. I was like, nope, send it back. And so he started a return,
right?
Where he admitted he just changed his mind, but he hasn't mailed it back yet because I guess he keeps hoping we're going to give him
a partial refund.
That partial refund. But to me, it's more of a matter of principle. It's just like
at that
you
point,
gave us the offer,
we accepted,
so we've already given you a discount, and now you're trying to claw back more cash just because you think I don't want to be bothered. I'll be bothered. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, it bothers him more. You know.
Well, what's funny about that buyer is that they chose to say that they just didn't like the item. So you're like, okay.
Well, because he has no standing to say that the item described, because it's got all the photos. He didn't say there's anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's with it. He just decided he felt he paid too much for it, but that's his choice.
Yeah, so he hasn't mailed it back. I have to check the date, and on the 6th business day, I will call and get it closed.
And again, I always just need to make this clear. But as far as eBay goes, but between me and him, there is very small amount of talk.
Almost none. I mean,
all I've ever said was send it back if you're unhappy.
Right.
That's all eBay sees, and that's all eBay expects me to say. I'm not trying to convince him he's wrong or he's done something wrong or
Basically, part of saying just send it back if you're unhappy is number one, you accept returns for any reason. You don't like it, fine, return it. eBay loves that. They want you to do that. Right. And the second part of that is, honestly, with a buyer like this guy, you're calling his bluff. You're like, you probably want to keep this. So you're probably not going to mail it back. I think he opened a return case to get us to send him a partial refund. Right. And we're like, nope.
He even had, it's when he opened it, his case says,
oh, right.
I'm unhappy. I'm asking for a partial it's refund.
But since it's hassle-free returns and he said he just changed his mind, it automatically approved it. It's just like, yep, mail it back.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of our way to keep it returns and buyer issues just as calm and as drama-free as possible.
Drama-free.
Yeah.
Like, the thing about returns, too, is you just don't want it to take up all of your day. It's not worth it. You just,
Right. And sometimes we just eat it and we're just like, okay.
Yeah, like those shoes.
Right.
We just looked at it and we're like, we messed up.
Right.
Okay, let's just, make them happy, move on. It's no big deal.
Oh, okay, things we learned in the forum over the week. Someone started a good topic about buyers who want to buy one item in a whole group of things. Mm-hmm. And we'll do this where we'll go to an auction and we buy a big table of stuff, and there's like a pile of stuff that isn't worth a lot, and we'll just take a picture of all of it and say, $20 for the whole thing. And then someone's like, well, how much will you sell me the blue one for? I'll give you $2 for the blue one. We always say...
We say no.
We do not break up lots.
That's literally what we say. Sorry, we do not break up a lot.
Because obviously then it's a problem, because then we have to retake pictures of everything except for the blue one.
Right.
And...
It's just... And the person always wants, like, the cheapest price, like... I have 3 ties. This is who messaged us. I have these 3 raw silk ties. I think I have it up for like $13 for 3 vintage raw silk ties. How much for the blue one? Every time. How much for the blue one? And I'm just like, and this one guy's like, I'll give you this much. I'll give you this much. And I was like, I'm super glad to sell you the whole lot, and I'll just send you the blue one.
And every so often we will get a person that says, I'll give you $12, but just give me the
right. I'll give you the full price, but I just want that one. And
then as long as they have, as long as that's been, done in the eBay as messages, we know will be backed up if he complains later on that we only sent him one time.
There have been times, though, when someone was like, I only want this in a lot of, silverware or whatever. And I'm like, if I am just like, I don't care, I'm just sending all of it. Like, let them deal with the rest. If it's if it's older or junky enough where you're just like, you can give the rest to Goodwill if you want, but you paid for the whole thing, so here it is.
I mean, and we've talked about this. It's before. One thing I have with people that sell on eBay, I really hate this, where they'll take a picture of 8 things, and then they're like,
choose one.
$10. Choose one.
Someone called in about doing that,
God, and
we just have to advise people not to do that because it will come back to bite you because someone will not read it. They'll think they were getting all of the items,
or just complicated because it's like, okay, I want the blue one, and then it's like, oh, the blue one
is gone.
Is already gone. It's like so then if you're having to, I guess, keep up and update the listing.
It's not worth it.
Sometimes if you have an offer, you can't update it, so it's
that's true. I didn't think of that.
And the other thing we've said too, when a buyer takes a picture of it's 4 items of the same one, and it's like $10, but you're only buying one of them. Just for some reason, they think the picture looks better if there's multiple items.
I never understood that, where you're like, you're showing 4 plates, but I only get one.
Right.
I mean, that is just...
Yeah.
It's like, just take a picture of one. Or, the other thing is, people take a picture of one plate, and they're like, and there's 10 of these, and you're like, why didn't you just show all 10, or show a stack of them?
So let's talk about our coming week.
Yes.
So this month is tax month. Every single dollar we make this month goes to paying our 2016 taxes. Yep. So we have to keep that in mind. Yes. So we need to sell. We need to take offers. Your sister's actually coming in town this week.
Yes, my sister is flying here from Boston on Tuesday till Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Cool.
It's a very good excuse to clean my office because we have our office is basically our guest room because there's like a full bathroom with shower in there and a bed. And so I really am cleaning. You're helping me clean because there's boxes everywhere.
Yeah. So it's good though. We'll still have our helper be doing eBay work, but I'm assuming you're going to be more
hands off,
entertaining and enjoying the time with your family.
Yeah, but I'll still have our helper working,
and it's good.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it.
Okay, let's answer its questions that people have called in about.
That phone number for our voicemail line is 540-407-8486, and you have 3 minutes to leave a message.
Yeah, Jay and Ron, good morning. This is Gustav60 from the Midwest. He's wanting to know if there's any collector or eBayers out there. That's me. Enjoy it. Might as well justify my time on there. I mean, collect what I don't mind getting stuck with. As far as the death piles you guys talk about, plan on retiring in a few years. That's my retirement inventory. That's what I want to bleed through after I retire. Me and my wife kind of did a little setup like you guys. We're not as nearly as big as you. Split the stuff. I do the picking, most of it, photograph, and she does the listing. I do the packing. Works out pretty good. We both got good jobs, so we just do this on the side. We're always been antiquing anyway, so been a good enjoyment. Had a nice spell last week. A lot of people want to get rid of some stuff. Pulled off the road on Saturday, sat there probably 4 or 5 hours. Had almost 40 people stop. I was there on the yard sale, probably within 500 miles going on. It was a nice day. Got rid of half a truckload of stuff I didn't want to list. One other thing, if you guys could ever do a thing on the post office, had a appeal process going over and over and over. They haven't closed it yet, but I haven't got my money back on the damage. If anyone's got any suggestions on that, I'd appreciate hearing. Keep up the podcast. Like it. It's good listening. Talk to you later.
Well, that's cool. I've heard other people say that their piles of death.
Yeah.
The stuff that's in their house that they just can't get around to putting up on eBay is like a savings account. And I guess in some ways it's true, it's not bad having extra stuff. It's just a balance between, I think it's for us, we call them death piles because it feels like it's draining a life force away because it's intruding into my space.
It's taking up space and it's not getting listed.
Right. And, it's making me feel like I'm not doing my work. And, and why have this stuff if I'm not going to make a living on it? But I can understand, if you have dreams of doing it later, as long as it would be stored away somewhere away from me,
right.
like in a storage place.
Not right in my house.
Maybe it's not a big deal. But on the other hand, too, there's just so much stuff out there. I'm like, at this point, I'm not worried that there's a lack of stuff to buy and sell. So, and we do this full time, so I like to be caught up as much as possible.
Yeah, well, it helps, honestly, to have someone we employ because she's gotten us through.
Yeah.
Tons of piles.
Yeah.
Concerning your post office appeal process, you didn't say why you had to appeal it. It sounds like they denied you at one point, so you've had to appeal it a few times. The only advice that I would have is to call and speak to an operator or go to your post office and speak to someone directly. If they aren't giving you a good reason why they're denying you, the reason they would deny you is they would have to give you an explanation as to why so that you could provide other information, I would think. So that's my only advice.
So what percentage of post office cases have you lost or won?
I don't think I've lost a single post office case. FedEx has denied me once.
Right.
But I appealed it and got them to pay for it.
Yep.
But so yeah, I don't know why they would have to make you appeal it over and over if they haven't told you what they need from you. So I would say speaking to someone in person or on the phone might be helpful.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. My name is Dee. A strange thing happened to me. I was going to close my eBay store, and a friend of a friend offered me $2,000 for my store. And I've just never really heard of this before. I guess they're just buying my good feedback and my top-rated seller status. So if you guys could talk about that, I'd like to hear people's opinion. Thanks. Bye.
Yes, people buy each other's businesses all the time.
Well, people buy businesses. I don't know about eBay stores. I think...
No, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if eBay would... think that that's a good idea or not, but really I guess it doesn't matter if you and this person do some deal, and I guess he or she gives you a certified bank check,
right,
and then right there in front of them
you give them
give them the password and a username and see them change it, then basically it becomes their store.
Exactly.
And but people sell their own websites all the time, or a plumbing business or whatever.
My mom bought a craft business when I was in high school. She bought someone else's business. The name,
like stamps, right?
Yeah, it was rubber stamps. They made rubber. They were artists and they made these rubber stamps by hand. They had a machine that made the rubber thing, but and my mom bought that business because she thought it was cool and she wanted to get out of the craft business she was in at the moment, and it was a good business. So it's just interesting. You can.
I would just Google that just to see how eBay would feel about that. But again, I guess they really can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I would think they would be like, we don't want someone like you that's a really good person and you treat people well, and then some bad person buys at your store, buys your reputation,
right,
and then they suddenly start treating people badly. All those good feedbacks and scores are then false, right. They're not keeping up. But I guess then eBay would just shut that store down.
Yeah, eBay has ways of making sure that does not continue.
Yeah, and I would see how much people buy it for. Maybe $2,000 is too small.
It depends on how big your store is.
Is maybe you could get more.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool.
Hey, Scavenger Life. This is Scott in Seattle. So I finally got a reason to call you guys again. I'm one of those crazy sellers that has 100% positive feedback and a top-rated seller and all that stuff. And I shipped out a pair of shoes that were in pristine condition. I mean, maybe were worn once, and the guy said that they had unauthentic soles on them or whatever, and he shipped them back, and he had ripped the back of the sole, and I called eBay and told him the story, and then she sat on the phone while I uploaded a picture off of my telephone to her, and what she did is she refunded the person from eBay and let me keep my money. So I don't know why she said that they're keeping good on their promise to them, but she knew that I was right. So I guess it does make a lot of sense to call and plead your case because I certainly got to keep my money. Thanks again for all you do. Bye.
That's a great story. I'm glad to hear he got to keep his money, and I think it's smart to call. Look, I always think it's smart to call eBay to see what your options are. Just like, what should I be doing here? Right. What's the right thing?
Right. You know? It's going back what we talked about earlier, and that's instead of arguing with the buyer, right, who might be upset, we always call it eBay, and eBay gives us our options.
Right. I don't always like the options because a lot of time the option is tell the buyer, reach out to your buyer and tell them, you'll give them all their money back. And you're like, ah. But it sounds like he got a good rep who understood and he showed the proof, and that's good.
Good morning. This is Beth, and I have a question for you about international shipping. I know that you guys are a fan of the global shipping program, but in the past you had shipped direct to other countries. I have always used global shipping since it's been available and never shipped directly. I was considering changing that. I want to be open to other sales. Hardly anything I ship out is first class, so I'm wondering if the weight and size of my items are getting marked up high enough to discourage sales to other countries, and I was thinking about giving that a try. My question to you is, since you've done both, since you stopped shipping directly and just do the global shipping program, have you noticed a big decrease in the amount of sales you're getting from international buyers? Also, if you could just let me know as far as actually printing the labels and the custom forms, does it just print out that customs forms right after you print the label on eBay? So it's a pretty easy process, or is it a little bit more detailed? And I always wonder about restricted items. Do you have to check every country's list of restricted to make sure what you're sending them isn't on that list before you go ahead with the order? My other fear had always been that I would get contacted with questions from someone who wasn't English speaking that was a little bit more back and forth of a difficult conversation than I have to worry about with U.S. customers. I appreciate your input. Thanks so much. Bye.
Don't be afraid. That's what I have to say to you. Don't be afraid. So a couple things. We love global shipping. Although there are some categories randomly, I forget which ones they are, that are not covered by global shipping. So someone in the UK will buy something and for some reason I have to ship directly to them using first class mail. And there are some countries where you have full tracking. Something super weird happened. I shipped a sweater to Brazil in their first class and there was full tracking the whole way. It even showed delivered. That's never happened to me to Brazil. So I don't think it's a big deal. You can get third-party insurance for a lot of those if you want to add that to your listings. I don't think it's a big deal. The other thing is when you print a label for a first-class international or priority international, the customs form is part of the label. So first class is just one label. You could do it on a sticky label, and it's got customs and then the address right next to it. And then priority is 2 pages of plain paper that has all the customs forms, and you have to cut it in half and put it in this clear envelope that you get on USPS.com. It's not a big deal. You just sign it and date it, and it's just like, it's not a big deal.
And we had some people talking about this on the forum it's this past week about Australia.
Right.
It's, for instance, like some buyers like, I want to buy this, but just send it to me the slowest, cheapest way. Yeah. And the person putting up a forum post said, well, but it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. Like, is that going to be a big deal? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's as long as the buyer understands, and if you don't think they're going to cause a problem after 4 to 6 weeks, then I guess it's okay. And most times you can get it covered, insured by Ship Cover,
by Ship Saver,
or
Ship Cover. There's Ship Cover.
So if something did go wrong, it's just, I guess we like global shipping program because we just ship to the Kentucky warehouse and it's done.
It's done. It's
eBay
great.
handles everything from there, and there have been problems in the past, and eBay handles everything, and we love it. We used to always ship
directly,
first class direct, and there'd always be like problems, like where's my package, and there's no tracking, and
I mean, I had like a whole text document that I would email people just being like, it can take up to 2 months. Like
it gets stuck in customs, I guess. But I mean, we have no idea. So there's just a feeling of helplessness. But it worked, and we get screwed on a couple packages every year. But it was just a cost of doing business.
Yeah,
it's really just a choice. If you're really hungry for sales, I bet if you ship first class, you'll get more sales.
Right.
We just didn't want the headaches.
Right. Now, the good thing is, to a lot of countries in Europe and Australia and to Canada, there is pretty much full tracking, even on first class. It's not guaranteed, but I sent something to the UK first class that wasn't a global shipping category, apparently, and it got tracked the whole way also, and to Australia. So...
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. eBay now is good. They allow you to take categories off of global it's shipping. So actually, we will ship to Canada
first class. Or another thing is, like, somebody asked me, it was really funny, this guy in Canada was like, it's so expensive, and they want to do an import charge on these like kitchen canisters, and they weighed like 6 pounds, so it had to go priority. So it was going to be expensive no matter what. He's like, can you take off the global shipping program and just send it to me priority? I was like, sure. So I took it off, and I was like, hopefully that's less. He's like, oh, it's actually more. I'm just like, well, but what's funny is he bought it and paid for it, and I just sent it priority to like, Toronto or wherever.
Right.
So it's really funny because sometimes global shipping will actually be cheaper. It's rare, but there have been times where I'm like, okay, I took it off. They're like, it's more expensive now. I'm like,
it really is amazing that we can just have a home, it's business, and sell to anyone in the world. And it really isn't that difficult, Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting.
It's amazing, yeah.
It's incredible.
That's it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on our forums. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video to show what sold and how much it sold for, currently being brought to you by Steven Schultz. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast where we talk about our vacation rental Airbnb business. That's at shampooandbooze.com. You can also rent our vacation farmhouse, and you can find the link to that on shampooandbooze.com. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Episode 300!